Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fonnie Scholes, and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Automotive. Just setting up my computer here again so that I can see all your comments as they come in, and we'll discuss them. Give me 2 seconds, I'll be with you just now. Okay, tonight we are discussing more about the people, the human side of this whole COVID-19 and coronavirus and the impact that it's had on our businesses and lives. And we are speaking to Leon Pheiffer from Pheiffer Associates. Leon's had a very long and distinguished career, and in the motor industry, but not only in the motor industry. He started his career in the military, and from there he moved on to Toyota South Africa, looked after corporate sales, and later the Toyota Academy. He's also trained in the Toyota way and the Lexus way. International travels to Disney University, where he's trained in the Disney way, the Disney University in customer service processes. Consulted for Nissan and Renault South Africa, also in the automotive industry at the moment, retail, agricultural industry, transport industry. Leon Pheiffer, that's a long and distinguished CV. Welcome to Let's Talk Automotive.
Hi, Fonnie. Thank you, and welcome also to your guests.
Leon, thank you very much joining me all the way from Cape Town. How's the weather been, and how's lockdown treating you?
Well, Fonnie, you know that this time of the year, it's the weather in Cape Town is getting overcasted, and we're preparing for a long winter, like the traditional Cape Town winters.
Absolutely. So, Leon, tell us a little bit about Pheiffer Associates and exactly what it is that you guys do.
Fonnie, we are an organization, development organization. We specialized in behavioral science-based processes. So we target medium to small businesses of about 600 people. We work with leaders of those companies to across various industries to do mainly two things: to speed up change processes and to enhance performance and growth. And we mainly do that through behavioral science and interventions that we do. And typical in this situation, we guide and give roadmaps to companies how to speed up this change process so that they can don't waste time and do the right things right as quickly as possible to position themselves for the future.
Okay, well, that ties in very nicely, and that's why I've invited you to speak to me on Let's Talk Automotive, because obviously we are going through very uncertain times at this stage. I think it's definitely not business as usual, and more rather business as unusual. What would you say?
Fonnie, is definitely white waters ahead. This is a revolutionary change that's waiting for us. And the solution to this is not just, crunching the numbers, financial solutions, marketing solutions, and sales solutions. It's all-encompass, it's a holistic approach, and people is part of it. You know, the old saying is that
Yes.
dealerships don't sell cars. People sell cars, and it's important that we look at that. Now, in order for me, let me just jump in there and just talk about paradigms, because this whole change process is actually challenging our paradigms. Now, paradigm is a pattern of thinking. Now, examples of that would be in the hotel industry, where Airbnb changed their paradigm. The taxi industry, where Uber changed their paradigm, different way of thinking. It doesn't matter how good you are in what you're doing or what you have done. Now's the time where everybody goes back to zero. So there's a good case study that happened in the late 60s, where where one can ask who dominated the watchmaker industry in the late 60s. It was the Swiss. The Swiss dominated the watchmaker industry. They had reputable brands. They had 100 years of experience. They had they dominated the market share. And the question is, who dominates it now? It's the Japanese. And the reason for that was the quartz watch. Now, interesting here is that the Swiss invented the quartz watch, but they thought they didn't think it was important. They thought it was a novelty to such a degree that they actually displayed it at a trade show, didn't protect the patent, and then the Japanese actually saw it and they capitalized it. And here's the key word: they timelessly, speedily reacted to the new paradigm. And we know the history. The Swiss is not in the market anymore. So the main thing is, doesn't matter what your reputation are, how long you've been in business, how successful you've been, how reputable your brand is. If the paradigm changes, everybody goes back to zero. So I think a couple of lessons here is that you need to speed up and capitalize on the changes, and rather create change than adapt to change. And then two important observations here is that when you hold on to your old paradigm, the old way of doing things, you will obviously resist change. And the second thing is you will definitely filter new ideas to prevent the change process. So old paradigm won't take you into the future.
So I want to come in here and I want to ask you, Leon, how does this change in paradigm impact the people, and also obviously not only the people in the business but also our customers?
Finding interesting. I want to explain it by using the Kubler-Ross change curve.
Okay. Now I think Fritz has got that slide for us. So you just let us know when we must put it on the. There you go.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So people respond to, and they go through various phases of this of change. Now on the left-hand side, you'll see we talk about morale and competence, and the bottom is the x-axis is time. Now people go through these experiences over time. First initial is the shock, and then there's, in the shock phase there's numbness, they immobilize, they freeze, they go into limbo. And and the next stage is where they deny this is not going to happen. They minimize the event and say, well, this is not really going to happen. I actually predict that if our president is lifting the lockdown, people will definitely go back into the stage and will say, this is minimized, this is over, this is not really true. So a lot of people get stuck into this phase where they can't see the future and they think it's business as usual. The next stage is frustration. This is where people starting to realize that the change is coming, and then self-doubt kicks in. They're worried about are they competent? Can they, all the technology challenges, will they be able to do that? That's expected in the future. And they also can start blaming management, and like we see, a lot of people blaming the Chinese and so forth. And then depression, where they realize the old paradigm is never going to be the same, and they can't go on like that. So it's a low mood, it's depression, and if one doesn't manage that, it's a crisis. Then then you've got real problems. Hopefully after that, then people start realizing, then they're experimenting with new behavior, new processes, new systems. They make the decision that it's a new situation and we can start working with it, and finally integration and a new paradigm. Now finally, there's a lot of more detail into this change process, and what we do is to help companies and managers and leaders to go through this and make sure you minimize the time frame here. However, one must realize that people go through this process over and over. So
Sure.
one can do this and minimize the impact of it by, working with your people. Just another thing, you also ask, what's the effect of this on our customers? Our customers obviously go through the same process. Now, if a customer is in a shock, denial, frustration, or depression, how can you make a buying decision, the purchasing decision,
Correct.
if he's unsure? So yes, one can market your products, but how are you going to secure the relationship so that they feel it's okay before they can make a purchasing decision? So I think also from a marketing point of view, one must understand that people don't make decisions in this uncertain times unless you facilitate it and help them to do that.
Okay, so we've spoken about the paradigm shift and the impact that it has, but surely this must obviously impact productivity and effectiveness of the employees in the workspace.
Finally, yes, change is stressful. It's people are uncertain, they're confused, they're desperate, they panic, they're suspicious of everything. Even a good idea is treated with suspicion. There's a lot of anxiety.
Correct.
There's a lot of stress. They become more and more dependent. You'll find even people with lots of experience suddenly become like children, and they expect you to be the parent. They can't think the way they've done before. They expect guidelines and clear guidelines, and they go into limbo because of stress.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of me issues coming up. If you read the news, you'll find that suddenly you read in the headlines that we must prepare for mass graves. 80% of us will get the disease, and some will survive. My goodness, that is creating such anxiety and stress. So,
Correct.
And suddenly people work at home, and it's not conducive, for work. There are children around, they don't have airtime, they don't have the equipment, and so forth. That is stress. So medical conditions increases, their personal budgets and finance, all of that. Now, I want to illustrate you what happens in the brain when that happens during times like this. So,
Okay.
I hope you can see this. This is a model of a human brain. So it consists out of a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere, and each one of these hemispheres is your dominant hemisphere. So you're either left brain dominant or you're right brain dominant. Now, in situations of stress, your non-dominant brain switches off. So let's say I'm left brain dominant. Left brain is your analytical thinking and your problem solving and your rational thinking. Your right brain is your creative brain. Now, let's say this switches off because of stress situation. You sit with the left-hand brain only. Yet, the right-hand brain is the one that we need now for innovation and creative marketing and initiatives and so forth. So, but not only this, if you look at this side of the brain, this is the cerebral cortex, on the top side here. This is where rational thinking, the more advanced thinking lies. This is where problem solving lies and rational thinking and so forth. In the middle, the limbic system, that's your emotions, and then you get the reptile brain, which is which is about survival. Now, in stress conditions, you regress. You lose your, first of all, this higher thinking, then become emotional, and then you go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. So, how it manifests in a work situation is exactly that people become more and more, the shields go up. They protect themselves. It's about my career, my future, and that's not what we need now. We need now collaboration. We need teamwork. We need intergroup functioning. Yet our people will go into a more, the shields are up. They will defend themselves, and all of that just to survive. So one must watch
Leon,
out
I'm gonna interrupt you there quickly. We can carry on. Please hold that thought. I just want to mention a couple of guys here: Marco, Nadia, Rian, Willem van Asweg, and Willie Joost is on the line. Vida, Corin, thanks guys for joining us. Anne Engelbrecht is watching with us. And then I've got a question here quickly. I've got a question here from Francois van Eden. He says, Leon, if you can comment, how is the current crisis different to the crash of 2008? And how did the auto industry react then? And how do you expect the industry to act now?
Well, I think the first thing is that this change is not only, it's worldwide. It's not specific to this particular industry. And I think the motor industry recovered in 2008 by going back to the old paradigm of selling cars, just do it a little bit more of the same. Technology didn't play such a big role those days. And at this stage, technology is going to change. People will have a lot more me issues in the work situation. And this is revolutionary change. 2008 was a financial crisis, economic crisis. But this is revolutionary change that in order to survive. And that is how I see it. I think what I've seen on my tours in Europe, first world countries, is retail practices. I have seen in Europe, in a large dealership, that a dealership can be paperless. It can be done. I've seen it. I have seen how a showroom is not a warehouse of stock. Like we know warehouse, that we know the bricks and mortar, the huge dealerships with mirror and chrome and glass and so forth.
Correct.
It's a small dealership, but your stock is not on the floor. Now, those are all, I think the first world countries are already moving into, and I think maybe they're a little bit more prepared.
Yeah. So I think obviously the timing of this, I think this is on a much larger and bigger scale. I think we might take longer to recover from this as well.
I think so, Fani, because this is revolutionary change. This is going to change our paradigms. And the longer we try to idealize the past and try and reinvent the past, in other words, we are in denial and say, well, okay, after lockdown, we will just fine-tune here and there, up the sales and marketing a bit, add a little bit of technology, and we'll do business. It will be business as usual. Well, that's going to be a problem if you do it like that. And I will later, when we talk strategy, I'll give a couple of guidelines how one can go about that.
Awesome. So, Leon, before we get too serious and we get into the next couple of questions, I want to have a little bit of fun with you and also with the viewers at home and watching us on Facebook Live. So, guys, if you can play along with this game, we did it in the first episode with Michael Cirillo. We're going to show you a picture. We're going to show you a picture on the the screen here, but it's only a partial picture of a vehicle. All I'm going to say to you guys is that you at home and Leon, this is very, very well-known cars, all right? So, Fritz, you can show us the first one. You guys at home, comment your results on the screen here. Okay, so this is the first one. Leon, what do you think this is?
You know what? This resembles my very first car, and it looks like a 1962 VW Beetle.
Why is this vehicle famous?
Well, it's the car of the people those times. Yeah?
Okay, let me show you what I mean. Let me show you what I mean with being very well known and famous cars.
Oh yes.
Okay, so you got the first one right. Lekker, man. You got the Dries and Wallace Goosen also got it right. Well done, guys. But we're leaning towards a little bit of a movie and TV show theme tonight. So this is the second one. Guys, what do you think this one is, Leon?
Well, Bonnie, I don't know. Can I phone a friend?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. This is let me show you what this one is, Leon.
Oh yes.
Can you remember that one?
Who can forget the A-Team, eh?
The A-Team. So this is the GMC Vandura. Okay, you guys at home. Yeah, I think Nadia got it right. Wallace got it right. A-Team, Wallace. Well done. This is the next one, guys. What is this? Very famous car. Leon, what do you think this is?
This is the Trans Am, eh? Is it the
yes.
the kit car?
Well done, Leon. Awesome. And the guys at home, Peter Fuljoen got the previous one right. Peter, thanks for joining us. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Leon, what's this? Very, very famous franchise of movies this vehicle comes out of.
This is a James Bond car, isn't it?
That's right. So, well done. That is the Aston Martin DB5. What a beautiful, beautiful vehicle. Second last one, Leon. This one I think
Back to the Future
come in handy. Well done. So this is from Back to the Future.
You're putting on the spot
This
here.
is the DMC DeLorean. I think this one could come in handy right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that when I was at Universal Studios. Yeah, I saw.
Awesome. Okay, so this is the last one. What do you think this is, Leon?
Is it not a 911 Porsche?
No, it's definitely not a Porsche. The red is a giveaway.
Of course, then it must be some kind of a Ferrari.
Okay, so I'm going to give you half a point for that. From Magnum PI, this is the 308.
Yes, of course, yes.
Awesome. Guys, okay, so now that... Tell me, out of 6, the guys at home, how many did you guys get? I see that a lot of you guys got it right. Well done, Wallace Goosen. Johannes got Back to the Future right. Johannes has got a couple of them right. Okay. So get us your comments in. Out of 6, how many did you get right? Leon and I are going to get back into question number 4 here. So, Leon, now that we've discussed and understand the situation that we're currently in, how do we get our workforce and even our customers to get out of that limbo mode and be productive again?
Funny, this is why we specialize in the behavioral sciences, because there's a lot of emotions involved here. So one can think about a lot of solutions, but what is logical accepted, or that what is making logical sense does not necessarily make emotional or psychological sense. So
correct.
You cannot demand or announce a process or a solution without taking into consideration the dynamics of the people factor. And as I've indicated before, with the change process, that curve, people will continuously go forward and backwards in that change curve. And unless one has got a very specific strategy in place to manage the change and to put that in place, it's not going to happen. Now, I will later elaborate on that. But
All right.
coming back to your question, I want to now to talk about mainly 4 things that you can use as a decision maker to get through this. I want to talk about strategy, or strategizing, or aligning for the future, and I want to give some tips and ideas there. Of course, I cannot go through the whole process now, but I can give you just some core things that you need to watch out for. And then also I want to look at leadership, the do's and the don'ts that you should do and not do, what you need to watch out for. I want to talk about culture, and I want to talk about attitude. So let's talk about the strategy first. First of all, I want to, the warning here is that to continue what you are currently doing best might be the worst thing that you could do. I'm going to say that again. If you continue continue doing what you do best now, might be the worst thing to do in the future. So make that part of your thinking process, that your success of the past and the years that you've been in the market is no guarantee of success in the future. Now, this is not all doom and gloom, but one must think around this. Then the second warning is don't try and redesign the past and just make small adjustments here and there to get through this. This is the time for new thinking and timeous action. And the third thing is a tip that I would like you to give is, instead of being in the current situation and look into the future, rather turn it around and put yourself in the future. Where do you want to be? How do you see your dealership, your marketing, sales? What does that picture look like? What is it? What is it not? Put yourself in the future and get a clear picture of the future. Then look back at the current reality. That is your gap.
Leon, I'm gonna interrupt you there.
Close the gap.
I'm going to interrupt you there because there's a question that came in from Philip Willemse, and it ties into exactly what you're talking about now. So he says, this is a question for Leon. This is the perfect time to digitize the industry. What are your thoughts in using technology to revolutionize the automotive industry?
Well, I cannot disagree with Philip. That's absolutely part of your strategy. I want to answer it in this way. When you strategize, it's not only sales and marketing and financial strategies. There are at least 7 other areas that are interdependent. And I'll get to Philip's question now. So the 7 areas that you need to includes that you must restructure, that you must retrench in the process, that you must re-recruit your movers and shakers, and then here's Philip's answer to Philip: retool, re-equip.
Okay.
Your staff for the future. Now, that retooling definitely includes technology. That is the way forward. But we sit here with paradigms. We still sit here with people, salespeople, marketing people, managers, leaders that denies that, and that still thinks that you need the personal interaction or relationship. One must get around that and use technology and still have a sustainable long-term relationship. Now, here's the scary part, is that the sales people or people in general who was successful in the past, unless the paradigm changes and unless they retool themselves, it's going to be disastrous for them. Absolutely disastrous. So yes, Philip, this is the opportunity now to introduce technology. Absolutely, and it's an opportunity to do many things differently.
Okay, so let's carry on with the next question, Leon, and or the next part of that 4-prompt approach that you were talking about, leadership. What did you have in mind?
Okay, Fani, I just want to go back one step to strategy again, and that is I want to stress the whole point of timelessly position yourself. There is no, because like the Japanese did with the watches, they took the novelty and used that and leveraged that and became market leaders in a very short space of time. Now, it's important that you timelessly reposition yourself and strategize around that. So, but I want to quote Steve Jobs, who said, as one of his principles, and by the way, it is also a management principle, and that is, he says, keep it simple. And he said, simple is not easy. He says, focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains. So watch out for complicating this whole situation. And your plan is a basis for change. You can always change it as you go along.
Yes. All right. So I've got a question here or not a question, I think it's more of a statement and a question. Peter Viljoen, thank you very much for joining us and watching the show with us. He was on the show last week. He says the Japanese companies adopted a clan culture after World War II. This enabled them to cope with a cataclysmic event and rise to the top. Maybe South African companies should do the same.
Okay, so what's the question?
Well, obviously stating the clan culture that they adopted after World War II, and that companies here in South Africa should do the same.
Yeah, I think so. The Japanese culture is not easy to copy because of deep-rooted issues. Many companies have tried to copy the Japanese culture. They get it right to copy and implement certain techniques and principles. But Peter is, I think, Peter is right. However, I think one must also make sure that you don't go into tribalism. And now collaboration and interaction will make us stronger, if that is what Peter
I think that's what he means.
In mind, if I understand him correctly.
Absolutely. Okay, so I've got another question here from Charles Grobler, and he's adding to Philip's question. He says, how ready is South Africa's consumer to buy online? Do you think, Leon? What is your take on that?
Well, let's see what happened in the hotel industry with Airbnb. I mean, these days technology is the way to go. That happened fairly easy.
Correct.
What happened? What happened with Uber? What happened with Gumtree? It's all easy. And the other day I've heard, if you look at who is making the most online bookings for orchestra shows and cruise ship tours, the older people. Those with the money, those with the time. They use the technology. So never think that technology is just for the younger people. I think what one must look out for is that the buying patterns of the younger people. and that is that the millennials and younger in first world countries don't even buy cars because Uber and other forms of transport takes that over.
I
So
agree
maybe that's the
completely
kind
with
of
you,
thing
and I
that one
think
must start looking at.
I think Uber is a perfect example of that. South Africa, the consumers in South Africa is definitely ready, but I think the Uber solution, the platform that they use, is miles and miles ahead of anything that we have in the automotive industry at the moment. I don't think we have the online solution like the Uber solution or the Airbnb solution. And I think that's where we're still lacking. What do you think?
I definitely think so. Fani, is because my take on that is that I think we focus too much on the sales process as opposed to the
Yes,
purchasing process.
I
And
agree.
these two processes differ. Now, if you look at the
Yes.
purchasing process and you look at your moments of truth, and you can define that, and you identify the psychological needs that a customer will have at each moment of truth, and you can design your process according to that, you'll be okay. But the moment when you focus too much on the sales process and your process is just to satisfy your own needs, you're missing the point. So one must design your purchasing process around the psychological needs of a customer. Now, what are those? Typical. The need to feel secure, the need to get timeous information, the need to feel important, the need to have a long-term sustainable relationship. So how do you build those into your technology so that it is seamless? I think that's the important. A customer does not want to go through silos. He wants to have a seamless
Yes.
experience, and I think that's important.
Okay, so let's get back to our four-prompt approach for tackling this problem. The next point on your list was culture. Culture is the way that we do things normally, the way that we've always done things. So does that need to change as well?
Yes, definitely. Let me just, I think we've missed one there. Let me just go back to leadership.
Sorry,
There's certain, I'm going
interrupted
to,
you.
no, it's fine. No, the strategy actually is very, very important. Okay, now on leadership, I think to start off, one must acknowledge the point that leaders, current leaders, are not equipped and trained to handle the current situation. Few people are. They haven't
Yes.
gone through anything similar like that. I have seen how difficult it was. I played a key role many years back with the integration of the defense forces. How difficult that was. How people,
Yeah.
sort of referred to the past and want to take the past into the future and didn't let go. I also saw at Toyota, where I was also a facilitator of change, how difficult it was to move from a privately owned company to a Japanese owned company with all those dynamics. So leaders are not trained to handle this currently. However, they are functional specialists. They know how to do sales and marketing and all these specific jobs. And one must just look out that you don't try and fix everything with your functional expertise. This is now the time where leadership must come to the fore. So if you are going to manage the way that you've always managed, I think you're in for a couple of problems. So I think be more than a manager, be a leader. I think also one thing that you should not do is, if you're a leader of a team, is don't think that one powerful impact, welcome back guys at the dealership on Friday or Monday, that one impressive talk will reset the button and now everybody is back and fully operational. And I think one must just keep in mind that, as I mentioned before, people are in limbo mode, and you must get them out of limbo, which means leadership is about influence. You must influence people, and now's not the time to threaten them with job loss and fear and all. This is not it's a different approach. Another thing that you should not do as a leader is don't give away your power. What I mean by that is don't wait for permission, or don't wait for instructions from someone to get going. So don't maintain your power. On the other hand, don't abdicate your role as a leader and by giving these so-called soft issues or the behavioral issues to HR. To the contrary,
I hear you.
You should have a much more strategic approach to your human capital and keep your operational HR in place. But this is a leader function. And don't panic. There's another that you should not do. In the military, we said the officer should never run in front of his troops. Meaning, once the troops see that you run, they know there's trouble, and they don't know what it's all about. So don't panic, and don't give negative surprises. People are they're very sensitive for surprises at this stage.
Okay, Leon, let's move on to the next point, culture. Let's, like I said, does the culture, the way that we've always done things, also now need to change?
The quick answer is yes. Now, I know culture is developed over time, but this is now, we have been in a peacetime. This is wartime. This is about survival. It's about new things. And I think the leaders must, this is the opportunity to set a new culture. Let me just say this, Fani, that if there was a problem with your culture prior to this crisis,
yes,
this crisis will now magnify that problem even more. So if there was manipulation, disrespect, and all the negatives in a typical culture, let me guarantee you, now is a time that will even surface more. So you must expect that. So in the way forward, whether it's technology and so forth, let's take technology. It means that suddenly there are new values. And one of the values that one should put in place is trust. Now, previously we focused a lot on input. How many customers that you see? How many leads do you have? Now, from now on, it will be more output. So, and therefore, trust is important. So you must trust people when they work from home, when they're not at the office, and so forth. So trust is a big issue. Trust management and decisions, and so forth. And the other, and of course, the big one is integrity. And also, if you look at ground rules, you should have now ground rules for how are we going to have online meetings. What are the ground rules for WhatsApp messages and meetings?
Yes.
When not before 6 or not after 8 or whatever the case may be. So new ground rules for various things. Your ground rules for meetings, and let me say. During change, you need to beef up communication drastically. More communication, more regular, more meetings, but shorter, higher impact. So much more communication.
Awesome. Okay, Leon, so the last one on the list was attitude. And the final instance, we're talking about attitude. How is that going to impact and how does that fit into your strategy?
Well, there's one thing, if you look at strategy, Fani, you must distinguish between what you can control and what you can't control. So control the controllables. Now, there's a lot of things that we can't control, but there's one thing that you can control, and that's your attitude. So manage your own morale, and Yeah, so that's important. There's a story of, I don't know if you know the story of two salesmen in Africa. It's actually a true story. It happened to the Bata shoe manufacturer. They sent two salespeople to Africa, one to East Africa and one to West Africa, to do some market research to find out how does the market look like. So the guy that went to Eastern Africa, he reported back and he says, no, guys, no one wears shoes in East Africa. There's no market for shoes. They go barefoot. And the other one that went to West Africa said, guys, no one is wearing shoes in Africa. Send stock. We need shoes. So same situation, two different approaches. So
absolutely, yeah. That's a brilliant explanation. Absolutely, Leon. I want to get back. There's a lot of comments and a nice discussion going on between Charles and Peter on Facebook. They're talking and having a nice discussion. Philip Willems has said, "Thanks, well said." Anya Ruud says, "The rules of engagement critical." What do you say to that?
You know what? Funny. It's part of the values is we need to look more at employee wellness.
Yes.
Employee wellness leads eventually to employee engagement. If your employees are not healthy physically, mentally, and cannot and not whole brain engaged, and
yes,
they live a healthy lifestyle. As they say, culture eats strategy for business. People must make the business work, and therefore employee wellness and engagement extremely important. And guess what? Everything starts and ends with leaders. Leaders create the culture. They create the engagement or the lack thereof. And let me just
completely.
Let me just say in the final remark here is that leaders need now to stand up, become much more visible, much more credible, and much more available. Now, those three things will obviously contribute to employee engagement. Thank you, Anya. Good question.
I've got a question here from Gideon Duplessis. What's Leon's opinion with regards to private vehicle sales versus mobility service, example Uber, vehicles sharing, etc.? Is private sales going to grow or decline in your opinion, Leon?
What I like is the way Gideon thinks, is that I don't think one must just look at physically, having a retail outlet and customers knock on your door and say, well, what I'm looking at. So I think one needs to look at the various models, the various scenarios. I definitely think, if you look at that curve, I take it for myself. Although I was at the point of buying a new car, I'm going to postpone, thank you, I'm going to postpone my buying decision because I'm in shock. I am sometimes in denial. I'm frustrated. I'm depressed because of suddenly I don't have money. And I've got other priorities. So I think in the short term, yes. But now I think, Gideon, is the time where, like your employees, one must build a secure relationship with your customers, because your customers are also insecure. So you need to confirm that you're there for them, that you will be there for them, that you are going nowhere, that you understand their challenges, and so forth. I think for now is relationship and trust is going to give you leverage in the future. 6-9 months forward. So I think from a marketing point of view, relationship building, now is the time where you need to re-secure your current customers rather than find new ones. Look at the ones that you've got and make sure that relationship is secure, and prevent, of course, the competition, because we still have competition.
Yes. Okay, Leon, I think we almost going to wrap this up, but I've got another question here from Francois van Eden. Let's see if we can get it on the screen there quickly. It says you cannot legislate commitment. The challenge will be for the generals to board the captains, and for the captains to onboard the corporals, and for the corporals to onboard the troops. How do you cascade culture and values? That's a very good question. Thanks, Francois. I appreciate that question.
Leadership is about influence. If you can't influence people, you're not a leader. And then values is not something that a leader dreams up and the next day announce it. It's values are also not, values are uncovered. You must uncover the values and then and get participation, of your people. Values is not a one-sided thing. It's everybody is in any case involved in creating that. The challenge is, how do you make values, get it off the wall and real and realistic and live and observable in behavior of people, and sustainable. I hope I answer but he's 100% right. It's not, you can't demand a culture, you can't demand respect and trust and integrity. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
I've got a nice comment coming in here from Johannes Jansen van Rensburg. He says, and supportive, and supportive and understanding of each individual's circumstances. Not everyone has savings or backup funds, and unfortunately live day by day, which makes them very fragile.
Absolutely. You know what I've seen with companies that I've worked with that are going through change is to have facilitated sessions. And that is where people like myself get involved, is with a specific agenda, with a specific program, with this behavioral science behind us, to get concerns and me issues in the open, and to handle that, and give the support where it's necessary. That's from management to the individual, but also amongst the individuals, because the individuals must also make the culture work. And another thing that I'm just thinking, don't think that this is now just a soft approach. During changes like this, one must also beef up your discipline, because suddenly between the old way and the new way, there's going to be a lot of gray areas. And the gray areas are all the wegkruipplekkies, and one must eliminate that and make sure that you must tighten the discipline and have tough goals and performance standards.
I would like you to give me a final thought from your side, and then very importantly, I think we shared so much value tonight with the guys in leadership and not in lead, just across the board. We shared so much value. How can people get into contact with you? And if they need your assistance, obviously you standing by to help them, eh?
Yes, of course, yes. If people want short answers or some additional information on any of the topics that I've mentioned, please send me email. It's leon@pfeiffer.co.za. It's at the bottom of the screen. Let's also discuss how I can help you for those things that you don't have the time for, you don't have the resources, or you don't have the know-how, and get a behavioral specialist on your team so that I can help you strategize around managing this change. It's not all doom and gloom, but you cannot ignore the dynamics of the environment and the effect of that on people.
I see Theo van Rensburg has said here that it takes time, and guys like Leon can help you with the transition from bad to the good. Well, thank you very much, Theo. Guys, from my side, FS Media. Sorry, Leon. From my side, guys, if there's anything that I can assist you with, obviously, please make sure to like and follow the page. If there's anything I can help with, content marketing, social media marketing, your marketing strategy and plans, whatever the case may be, please feel free to contact me via whichever medium is easiest for you. Leon, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. It was an awesome show.
Thank you.
I think we've shared a lot of value. And I've got a very special comment here for you. Look at this, Leon. Let's put it on the screen there, Fritz. It's from Lizani Boyder. She says, please tell my dad at the end of the show that I love him and that he's my hero always.
That's my, what can I say? What a way to end the show. Rent a crowd, but a very special guy.
Thank you very much, Leon. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. We'll be back here next Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, and we have got a very big surprise for you. Please make sure to join next week, Thursday. Thank you very much, and good luck for the President's announcements at 7 in 5 minutes' time. Enjoy, guys. Have a wonderful week. Cheers.
Thank you, Fani, for the
Thanks,
opportunity.
Leon.